Assalamualaikum and good evening everyone. We are from Group 6 and today we will be presenting our lesson plan for ESSB4063, the Teaching and Appreciation of Literature, section MC022. And our lecturer is Mr. Muhammad Amar bin Muhammad Mukhtar. My team member is me, Nur Aida binti Muhammad, Narmata Sri, Kavisha Tarmaraj, Joash Lasharoneto, and Nur Hayati Yahya. My name is Nur Aida binti Muhammad and I am the team leader for Group 6. For today's lesson plan presentation, I am responsible for the set induction stage, where I will introduce the topic and engage students at the beginning of the lesson. Why we need set induction? The set induction is essential for several reasons. First, it captures student attention, ensuring they are mentally prepared for the learning process. Second, it activates their prior knowledge, allowing them to make meaningful connections with the new content. Finally, it introduces the purpose of the lesson, providing students with a clear understanding of what they will learn and why it is important. I begin the lesson by showing a slide that presents the learning objective. This objective guides both the teachers and the students throughout the lessons. The first objective is that the students will be able to identify and explain at least 3 main themes from Captain Nobody. The second objective is that the students will be able to answer at least 5 questions correctly in the multiple choice quiz activity, demonstrating their understanding of the novel. The third objective is that the students will be able to describe one character from the novel in a written paragraph of at least 200 words. And presenting all of these objectives at the beginning is actually really important. Why mention lesson objectives? We mention lesson objectives for several important reasons. First, they give students a clear purpose so they understand what they are expected to achieve by the end of the lesson. Second, the objective help guide their learning, allowing students to stay focused and follow the activities with clear direction. Finally, stating the objective increases students' motivation and confidence because they know what to aim for and can track their progress throughout the lessons. After explaining the lesson objective, I continue by showing the cover page of the novel Captain Nobody. I asked the students a few guiding questions such as, what will we learn today? What can you see from the cover page and who is the author? These questions help introduce the novel and prepare students for the next part of the lesson. We asked this question for several important reasons. First, they activate student observation and prediction skills, helping them think about what the novel might be. Second, the question encourages participation and critical thinking, allowing students to share their ideas. Third, they build background knowledge and context, which help students better understand the story. Lastly, this approach also supports visual learners as they can use the cover page to make connection with the lessons. After that, I continue by showing a few slides that introduce the basic literary elements, such as themes, plot, characters, and settings. In this part, I am not explaining the novel yet. I am only providing the brief meanings of each element so that students understand this concept before we apply them to Captain Nobody later in the lesson. Why show the slides about the meaning of themes, character, and plot? We show these slides about themes, characters, and plot because they help build essential literary understanding. So by giving students a brief meaning of this element, they are better prepared to analyze the novel later in the lesson. Next, I continue by showing a YouTube video of the summary of Captain Nobody. This gives students an overview of the story before we move on to the next activities. I show the video for a few important reasons. First, it captures students' attention at the start of the lesson, getting them interested and focused. Second, it provides a quick overview of the story, so students can understand the main events before we go into details. Third, it supports different learning styles because students can both watch and listen, which help visual and auditory learners follow the story more easily. After watching the video, I show students a few slides highlighting key takeaways from the video. like the themes, the characters, and the plot to help students better understand the story. The slide reinforce the main ideas from the video, making it easier for students to remember. They also support ESL learners by combining visual and textual information, so different types of learner can follow along. Finally, the slides prepare students for the next stages, where they will explore the story more deeply and practice their understanding through activities. Finally, I end my stage with a question, which is, have you ever felt invisible like mute? Why end the stage with a question? I end the set induction stage with a question because it serves several important purposes. First, it creates a personal connection to the story, allowing students to relate their own experience or thoughts to the topic. Second, it activates higher order thinking skill, encouraging students to analyze, evaluate, and reflect rather than just recall information. This approach helps to engage students actively and prepares them for deeper learning in the lesson. And that is all from me. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Kavita and my metric number is 0329232255 and I'm in charge on the presentation stage. So one of the reasons is to introduce and explain new knowledge to students clearly. We show students new information or we explain the main ideas of the lesson in a way that is easy to understand. Next, we guide students step by step where we help them gradually, like for example, we show them how to do it, then let them try but with help, and to prepare students for practice and independent work where we make sure students are ready to do any exercise or activities on their own. In the lesson plan, I proceed with showing students a few slides that show deeper information about the main themes, about the main characters, supporting characters, and the plot, where I start explaining from orientation, which is the introduction, then rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. Why this slide and why I show students this slide? That is because first, to provide students with detailed, structured explanation where it makes learning easier for students. Next, to support different learning styles. Students learn in different ways, some by pictures, text, and diagrams. So with these slides, it will help each learner understand. Finally, to reinforce and deepen understanding about the elements of literature. By delving deeper into each element, this would help students remember and understand the lesson better. After that, I also teach symbolism to the students. We teach symbolism in literature because it is an important part of understanding and analyzing text. Literature is more than just a story. It often has hidden meanings, messages, or themes. By learning symbolism, students can interpret these deeper ideas, understand the author's purpose, and appreciate the richness of the text. This helps them to think critically, connect ideas, and improve their reading and writing skills, which are key goals in teaching literature. These slides are important because they make abstract literary elements easier to understand. They also help students keep the information in order and remember it better for them. During this stage, I also include multiple choice questions. First question is, what are the three main themes of Captain Nobody? Second, who is the main character in Captain Nobody? Third, who is nude breastman? Next, which is not the characteristic of nude? After that, which is not the correct plot in the novel? And finally, where is the setting of the novel take place? Why did I include multiple choices of questions? So one of our learning objectives is to assess students' understanding of the lesson. That's why we include multiple choices question. They help us check students' understanding quickly, keep them engaged and motivated, provide fast and objective feedback, and reinforce the key points, and they learn in the lesson. This way, we can see if students have grasped the important ideas and support their learning effectively. And finally, I end my session with a positive remark to the students and application of positive reinforcement to motivate students and encourage their learning. This is all from me. Thank you.
Hi and good evening, I'm Joash and my metric cards number is MC022923743 and I'm in charge of the practice stage. So why do we need this practice stage? Well, we need this stage because it helps students apply what they have learned in real life situations and by not just remembering it. So it also allows them to check their understanding through guided activities so that we can see if they are learning correctly and all these things. So this stage builds students confidence, okay, because they try tasks with support first before doing them alone. And of course, finally, it strengthens their skills through repeated practice, helping them becoming more skilled and comfortable with the lesson. Then I proceed with an activity where we review a sample essay in which the question state, a brave man is not he who doesn't feel afraid, but he who conquers fear. So with close reference to the text, describe how this is portrayed by one of the characters and to explain how this quality would benefit you. Okay, then I showed a few slides that explain on what the paragraph does. So how does a sample essay structure their answer with appropriate examples from the introduction paragraph until the conclusion paragraph? So why this activity? We use modeling in writing to show what a good answer looks like, so students know what they are aiming for. It also helps to break down the writing process into smaller, manageable steps, making it easier to follow. And finally, good modeling prepares the students for their own writing tasks by giving them an example to guide their work. Then, I continue showing the overall summary from all the slides where I highlighted few key takeaways like first, understand the question. Next, provide a strong introduction where students need to mention the novel, author and main ideas of the essay. I also highlight the students to use specific events in the novel as an evidence, then explain why the event is important. And in the end, they add their own opinion to show understanding and critical thinking and with clear conclusion. So why do we need to summarize the points to the students? So we need to summarize for several reasons. First, it helps reinforce the main points, so students remember the important ideas. Okay, second, it ensures all students are on the same page, making sure everyone understands clearly. Third, summarizing provides a clear reference before they start their own writing so that they know what to focus on. Finally, it creates a smooth transition to the next activity, helping the lesson flow naturally. Then, I provide students with an activity which is a writing activity where they need to answer the questions: what moral value was taught in this novel do you think is the most important, and how is it shown? I instructed them to write a short essay not more than 100 words. So we do this activity for several reasons. First, it helps students apply their understanding of themes and moral values from the story. Second, it develops their writing skills, given by them a chance to practice. So third, it encourages critical thinking and reflection, so students think deeply about the story and its lessons. Finally, it prepares them for longer independent writing tasks by giving them practice in expressing their ideas clearly. Finally, I end my session with a let's check, so where it acts as a feedback time for students. Why do we need to do a let's check activity? Well, to check students' work for several reasons. First, it allows us to provide feedback to support improvement, so students know what to fix and do better. Second, it strengthens their itinerary analysis skills by helping them to understand the story more deeply. Third, it guides students towards better writing, showing them how to express their ideas clearly. And finally, checking work builds students' confidence as they see their progress and achievements. And that's all from me. Thank you for listening.
Hi, good evening. My name is Narmata Sri Dr. of Chandrasekharan and my matching number is MC0223388. I'm in charge for the sports stage, and today I will present my part in our lesson plan. Now we see why post-stage is necessary. We need the post-stage because it helps reinforce and consider learning, making sure students remember what they have learned. It also gives students a chance to apply their skills independently without teacher guidance. The post-stage helps extend their thinking beyond the lesson, allowing them to connect the learning to a real life or deeper ideas. Lastly, it allows us to check the overall achievement of the lesson objective and see if the students have truly understood the lesson. Next is for the post stage, I choose to use a think, pair, share activity. Think, pair, share is a strategy where students first think individual about a question, then they discuss the ideas with a partner, and finally share their answers with the class. This activity helps students organize their thought, build confidence, and learn from each other while applying what they have learned in the lesson. First, for the think part of the think, pair, share activity, I ask students to think and write on their own for 10 minutes. I show them this question. Suggest one character in the novel that you think is memorable. Brief, describe the character and give reasons for your choice with closer reference to the next text. Make sure your words are not less than 200. This step allows students to reflect quietly, organize their idea, and write their personal response before discussing it with anyone else. We include this writing activity during think stage for the several reasons. First, it helps students to achieve the lesson objective related to the writing because they have practiced how to express their ideas clearly. Second, it helps increase their understanding of the novel as they need to think deeply about the characters and events. Third, it allows students to organize their thought before the discussion, so they feel more prepared and confident. Lastly, these activities support differentiated instruction because every student can work at their own space and express their idea in their own way. Next, in the pair stage, students share their written ideas with a partner. This allows them to compare their ideas or thought, discuss their reasons, and learn from each other. This stage builds confidence because students get feedback in a safe way and a supportive way also. Finally, in the share stage, students present their ideas to the world, the class. This allows everyone to hear different viewpoints and learn from one another. It also helps students build confidence in speaking and give a teacher chance to check their understanding of the novel and the writing task. By sharing as a class, we bring all the ideas together and strengthen the overall learning. We use think, pair, share in literature lesson because it brings many advantages. First, it promotes cooperative learning, following the Kanga principle, where students learn better when they interact and work together. In literature, discussion character, themes, and events help them to understanding different viewpoints. Second, it increases active participation. Instead of only a few students answering, everyone gets a chance to think, talk, and share their ideas. This makes the literature lesson livelier and more meaningful. Third, think, pair, share and such deep understanding where the students explain their thoughts about the story to a partner and then to the class. They think more deeply and interpret to the text more carefully. Lastly, it supports students with different learning styles. Some students learn best way by thinking quietly, some by talking, and some by listening. This strategy include all three, making literature easier and more enjoyable for everyone. Finally, I end the post stage by providing feedback to the students. This helps reinforce learning by showing them what they did well and reminding them important of points. He also gives a positive reinforce, praising them effort and participation so they feel motivated and confident. At the same time, it guides improvement, gives suggestions how they can make their ideas or writing even better. Finally, feedback helps create a positive classroom climate where students feel safe and comfortable sharing their thoughts about the story. That's all is from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Nurhayati binti Yahya. My metric number is MC022092338 I'm in charge of the closer stage, and today I will present what I do during this stage, why, and explain the technology used during this stage. We need the closure stage for several reasons. First, it helps summarize the key learning points so students remember the most important ideas. Second, it allows us to check students' understanding and make sure everyone has grasped the lesson. Third, it connects the learning to the lesson objectives, showing students how what they learn fit the goals. Finally, it gives students a sense of completion, so they know the lesson has ended clearly and can move on to the next activity. Firstly, in the lesson plan, I will recap what we have learned from the induction stage to the post stage. Overall, through all these stages, we were able to achieve the objectives of the lesson. Students were able to write response about the characters, answer multiple choice questions to check their understanding, and identify the main theme of the story. They also practice critical thinking, applying their knowledge and sharing ideas with others. Why we provide a recap? We recap at the end of the lesson for several reasons. First, it helps reinforce learning, so students remember the key points. Second, it allows us to clarify any misunderstandings, making sure everyone understands the lesson correctly. Third, it connects the lesson activities to the learning objectives, showing what we did fits the goal. Finally, recapping prepares students for assessment or for future learning, helping them get ready for tasks or lessons that coming up next. After the recap, we will do a 1-minute reflection activity. I will ask students to write down their thoughts and answer the questions. The question is, what did you understand from today's lesson? This activity helps students think about what they have learned, organize their ideas, and reflect on their understanding of the story, the character, and the tips. It also gives me a quick way to see how much they have grasped from the lesson. During the reflection part, I use technology, which is the Padlet app, for students to write their reflections. This allows everyone to share their thoughts digitally in a safe and organized way. We use the Padlet app for several reasons. First, it encourages active participation because every student can share their ideas and reflection. Second, it supports digital literacy and 21st century skills, helping students become comfortable using technology for learning. Finally, it supports diverse learning styles as students can write, post images, or organize their thoughts in a way that works best for them. I then continue before ending my stage by asking whether students have any question. We ask questions from students for several reasons. First, it helps checks for any remaining misunderstandings, making sure everyone has understood the lesson correctly. Second, it supports learner autonomy, allowing students to express their thoughts and ask for clarification. And lastly, it ensures the lesson objectives are fully met. So we know that all the goals of the lesson have been achieved. And that is all from me. Thank you for listening. Hope you have a great day. Thank you.